welcome back to the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Brightman coming to you on Friday, January 5th. Happy Friday. This is a preview of Rutgers at Iowa on Saturday, January 6th, noon Eastern time, airing live on the Big Ten Network. Huge game for both teams. Neither has won in conference play so far. Rutgers started 0-2. Iowa is 0-3. Two road losses at Purdue and Wisconsin, which is pretty understandable, but what looking like a not great home loss to Michigan by 10 points in December. Michigan lost at home to Minnesota on Thursday night. So this is key for both teams. Ironically, the best win for both programs this year has been Seton Hall. Iowa beat them by 13 on a neutral court. Rutgers won at Seton Hall, as we know, by 7. So other than the Michigan loss, Iowa doesn't have any bad losses. They have a pretty tough schedule. I mean, they lost they got blown out on the road to their rival Iowa State by 25. They lost to Creighton by 8 on the court. On the road. They lost by 12 to Oklahoma on a neutral court. Both those teams are top 25 KenPom-wise. And then the conference losses that I mentioned. Little bit of a different Iowa team, still very efficient offensively, not so much defensively, but they're less reliant on the three-point shot this season. They are KenPom-wise ranked number 55th right now. They are 28th offensive adjusted efficiency and 126th defensively. They don't turn it over. Once again, Tony Perkins is their point guard, 6'4", very, very good. They're 7th nationally with a 13.3% turnover rate. Three-point range, they're just shooting 33.8%, which is about average, 151st nationally. But they're shooting just 31% of their shots from the floor from three-point range, which is just 315th. They have a high assist rate as a team, top 30 nationally. And 2-point range, they're shooting almost 54%, which is top 70. So that's really good. They're a good free throw shooting team once again, 74.6%. They don't get to the line necessarily that much, 32%, just around 200th nationally. But Tony Perkins is their point guard. He's going to look to penetrate. Whether Rutgers puts Derek Simpson on him, you imagine that Austin Williams is going to get on him. He was great against Bruce Thornton in the second half against Ohio State. You have to hope that was a moment for Rutgers where they've learned something, figured something out about themselves. Going to touch on that in a moment. But in terms of Iowa, Peyton Sandfort is their big deep threat. Once again, he killed Rutgers last year. They have to be mindful of where he is, 6'7" wing. He is shooting 38% from three-point range on 92 attempts. They have a big freshman, Owen Freeman, who's been very efficient inside. He is shooting 64% from two-point range. And Cliff is going to have to, be the rim defender that we know he can be. Rutgers is going to have to close out on 2-point shots. And in terms of Mawot Mag, is he going to cover Sandfort and go out on the perimeter a bit? So we know Rutgers is going to have to show up defensively in this game. They played really connected defense in the second half against Ohio State, really slowed them down. They can't allow Iowa to get out to a big lead. They can't allow them to get hot from three the way they allowed the Buckeyes to, who started 9 of 11 in that game. They only finished 2 of 13, which was a great, adjustment. Iowa does have some size. Can the Rutgers guards close out on the perimeter? They can't get caught a step slow. They can't take risks. Iowa doesn't turn it over a lot. So keep your man in front of you and don't allow open looks at the basket. Iowa is going to look to attack the basket off of penetration. Perkins has been really good at that. I think, Iowa is extremely they want to get as many shots up in the game as possible. They go at a very fast pace. Their adjusted tempo right now is 9th nationally. Their average possession length is under 15 seconds, which is 8th nationally. So they're going to look to push the pace. Rutgers, conversely on defense, really forces opponents to slow it down. They are 13th nationally, possession length, 360th in terms of forcing opponents over 19 seconds possession. So that's going to be a really interesting stylistic battle in this game. Can Rutgers first force Iowa to have to work for shots? They can't allow easy baskets, can't allow second chance opportunities. They're going to have to rebound. Iowa is not particularly a great rebounding team. They're about average on the offensive glass, and defensively, they're about average as well in the 150th range on both ends. So, we saw Rutgers has the ability to rebound. They did pretty well against the front line of Ohio State. Still, Cliff and Mag got to give them more than they gave them in this against the Buckeyes. I think that they can attack in terms of getting them in open space. I'd like to see some screening action from them, and then looking for the guards to find them off of penetration, off the roll on the pick and roll. I think that one thing that was interesting, I think, for Rutgers that they learned in that Ohio State game is how to close out games. Against Seton Hall, they had the lead. They were playing with a big lead. One possession game, Rutgers has to establish how they're going to win those games offensively. And I think you saw a little bit of confusion there down the stretch against Ohio State. It was huge to come back, obviously, but they were 1 of 5 down the stretch. They had 2 key turnovers when it was a one possession game. They posted up Mag and then posted up Cliff, turned it over both times in a row. That was a killer. So, yes, they need Mag and Cliff to score inside, but I think you need to keep the ball in the hands of Simpson and Fernandez. We'll see how Davis responds second game back from that bone bruise. He got pushed around a little bit defensively against Ohio State. I think it'd be a tough matchup, him on Perkins in this game as well. Simpson's playing with a ton of confidence. Steve Peichel talked after the Ohio State game how he spoke to Noah Fernandez, kind of had a heart-to-heart. I think, Noah is one of, if not their best or most reliable scorers, or should be. But, he's not an alpha in the sense of, he's a great teammate. He's new to the program. So I think he's kind of, hasn't been as forceful as he needs to be. And I kind of feel like that's what Peichel talked to him about, that you need to be a lead scorer for this team. And he looked for his shot much more so against Ohio State. He wasn't great from 3, but he still shot over 50% for the game. And they need him to be aggressive scoring. They need him to be hunting threes. They need him to be creating offense off the dribble, looking for the bigs in space. I think another kind of second level dynamic to this offense in terms of getting Hyatt looks, in terms of getting Gavin Griffiths going on the 3-point line, is kickouts off of penetration. Both him and Simpson, I think Fernandez and Simpson both need to do more of that. Gavin Griffiths is taking a lot of shots off his own dribble. He's obviously lacking confidence right now. They have to get him going. I really believe this is a game that can get him going on the perimeter. Iowa is not great in terms of defending the 3, or they have not been so this year. They're allowing opponents shooting over 35%. Some of that's a little bit of luck, but 270th nationally. This is a game that Rutgers is going to get looks on the behind the arc. And I think Fernandez and Simpson attacking the paint off the dribble and looking for Griffiths and Hyatt on the wings can work for this team in this game. I think that's a matchup they need to exploit. I think that Fernandez and Simpson need to lead this offense. They need to share the basketball a little bit more, just in terms of getting better shots within the flow. Simpson and Fernandez can score an ISO, and that's fine, but I don't think the rest of the team can. So they have to pick their spots wisely. When you can go on ISO and beat your guy off the dribble, do it and create your own shot. But at the same time, I think they need to find more opportunities for their teammates off their own penetration. They only had combined for 2 assists in that game. So Rutgers needs more well-rounded scoring. But I also think that down the stretch, you need the ball in both of their hands. And I think, again, Cliff and Mag, they need to attack the glass. They need to score off of second chance points. They need to score off of space, in space. They need to score off of transition. Need to score off the rolls. But I think straight, flat post-ups, especially down the stretch, is not Rutgers' strength right now. I think Fernandez and Simpson creating, they should have a lot of juice and confidence coming into this game. Second straight road game. It is a quick turnaround. I do worry about the legs of Rutgers flying home, flying back off the road. But they should have confidence going into this game. They've only won in Iowa once. That was 2019. Ron Harper Jr. went off. They won by 14. Iowa was ranked at the time. Iowa's going to be desperate in this game. Rutgers needs to be a little desperate in this game. So you want to see that edge out there. You want to see them nitty-gritty on the defensive end. They need to be connected from the opening tip. They need to rebound, of course, but they need to to make sure that Iowa is working for every basket in this game. And they can't allow Iowa to speed them up either. Iowa's going to be playing fast on their end. Rutgers needs to try to slow them down defensively. But on the flip side, in terms of offense, they need to work the perimeter. They need ball reversals. They need to make Iowa work defensively. So they need to be disciplined in this game. They need leadership. High has been very consistent, both with his leadership and with his play on the court. He had 10 rebounds against Ohio State. They need more of that. Again, I think Austin Williams is carving out a niche in terms of his ability to defend the bigger guards in the Big Ten. They're going to need that. So he's going to have to play. They need to get Gavin Griffiths going. I thought Wolf gave him some plus minutes at times in that game. So, the front court overall needs more production. You need more production from Cliff, Mag, and Wolf combined in this game. And they're going to need to, defend the rim and not allow easy twos either. So this is going to be a real telling performance. Can they build off of what they did against Ohio State on Wednesday night? If you have another setback, you go home, you're 0-3. Certainly the narrative continues. If you can win this game, it'd be a quad one victory on the road. And then you go home to Indiana, who is struggling big time. You have a real chance here in these next two games to turn the narrative around, be 2-2 in the Big Ten, and be right in the thick of things. So this is a huge momentum game. And I think that the way that game ended against Ohio State, their morale should be up. It wasn't such a deflating loss. It was disappointing because they came all the way back and they were right there and they couldn't finish strong. But they should have more confidence going into this game. I think Jermichael Davis can offer something in terms of his speed. Can he be a little disruptive defensively? Again, Iowa doesn't turn it over. Rutgers has been really good at forcing turnovers and converting them into offense in transition. They're going to have to pick their spots. This is a game where, they need to be smart. And they can't get caught up in pace with Iowa. And they need to try to dictate pace best they can off of their defense. Again, Rutgers is better when their defense dictates their offense. That needs to be a key in this game for sure. So we'll see what happens. Noon Saturday, Big Ten Network. Hope you enjoyed this preview podcast. I'm going to doubleheader Friday. Right after this, I'm going to get out a big, lengthy football podcast episode with David Anderson, where we talk about some big picture takeaways from the Miami win for Rutgers, what the roster looks like for next year, including the addition of Ethan Kalik-Manis, the Minnesota transfer, how he compares to Wimsatt, what he offers, what we think the offense needs to do to get better, and why a better season next season is not guaranteed for Rutgers football and what they have to improve upon. So little doubleheader Friday, get the Iowa preview here, and then check out the Rutgers football kind of extensive conversation with David Anderson. And then I'll have the rapid reaction Saturday after the game, Rutgers-Iowa. And then I'm going to have a Minnesota insider on very soon to talk about Ethan Kalik-Manis as well and Kirk Shiraka and how they were that 2022 season. So lots of content coming. Thanks for listening and watching once again here at the Scarlet Faithful.